free beer. It's called Not My Beer. In 1999, something special happened up in Green Bluff, just north of Spokane. Jane and Craig Deitz opened Bodacious Berries and started selling raspberries out of the garage. Many years later, that farm would grow, and eventually Craig would open Big Barn Brewing in 2012 on the property. Now, a full operation with hops, strawberries, raspberries, peaches, and pumpkins grown on site. Craig's son, Eli, joined the family business in 2016 to help with the beer and the orchards. The setting is serene. There's something truly special about drinking a nice craft beer under the shade of trees and a big red barn. The tap house is open Wednesday through Sunday all year long with live music and food trucks on Sunday afternoons. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's Not My Beer guest, Bodacious Berries and Big Barn Brewery owner, Craig Deitz. Well, welcome, Craig. It's great to have you on the show. I've added my hat just for a little festivity now that we are celebrating beer harvests and festivals. So you're both a brewer and a farmer. So let's start out with farming. How long has farming been a part of your blood?
Well, first off, I got to back up because I am covetous of that hat. I moved up to Green Bluff in 1972. Some of you guys weren't born yet. That's okay. But we started, my dad had an orchard, and I loved to dabble in sales. During the summer, we had cherries, and I would sell cherries. I grew my own strawberries, which we have back on the farm now, and somehow I became, should I say, deeply rooted in the soil.
Okay. We love our puns. And so then you start this, you kind of take this venture with your wife, and then you open Bodacious Berries. And so the name, how do you come up with Bodacious Berries? What's that about?
So we had a farm over off 395 long before I thought I was a craft brewer. And we grew blackberries, and it just happened to be the time where we were raising young children and also the time of Ninja Turtles. Wow. And so cowabunga blackberries didn't work out, but Bodacious berries worked out fine.
So that's the name. So it's literally Ninja Turtles inspired farm up there.
It was our beginning.
And right. And so you have the farm. Any special things that you're growing up on the farm this year? Have you changed your harvest over the seasons? I mean, you're now much bigger than blackberries and raspberries. What do you have going on up there?
Well, so of course the big thing for us as a brewery is that we do grow about 2.25 acres of hops. Okay. We had a record harvest this year. We were about 1,200 pounds of dried pelletized hops, which we'll get our report back from Yakima Valley this next week. Many of the local breweries, including Mountain Lakes and Humble Abode, and anyway, we had a huge group of local brewers use our fresh hops in fresh hop ales this year, and they turned out real great. We had a fresh hop Ale Festival this past weekend, and it was well received. So thank you guys.
So you entered. You're one of those who entered the beer realm of creating your business through home brewing, and you kind of have an interesting story about the events that you used to do as a home brewer, and connected with the fairgrounds. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first off, I was kind of jealous of my brother here, who's a long distance guy. I was a cross-country coach and a marathoner, and saw myself as an ultra-distance guy. Ran up to the top of Mount Spokane a couple of times with the, what would they call it?
The relay.
Oh, the relay.
But I did it solo, and anyway, with my guys that I used to run with all the time and so forth, a lot of us loved craft brews.
Wait. Can we go back for a second? Craig?
Sure.
You did it solo for a relay?
No,
you're supposed to have a team.
There was relays, but there was also a solo option. And so, yes, I ran it was climb a mountain, is what they call it. Climb a mountain relay.
Climb the mountain relay?
Climb a mountain relay, but they had solo, and so 34.5 miles all the way to the top of the mountain.
Holy.
Done deal.
Woo! Which would qualify as an ultra, for sure.
Qualifies as an
34
ultra.
miles.
Pretty good. One question with that. Did you wear Greta's Trink rucksack? Did you? That's from an earlier show.
Throwback to episode 1.
Episode 1. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so I had a bunch of guys, including Don Cardong and Steve Jones, Bloomsday guys, who loved craft brew. My family, kids got me one year, I'm sure my wife had something to do with it, a craft homebrew kit. And in my biology and chemistry degree, I started home brewing, and I entered things in the fair, and we had a local craft home brewers group called Brewhahas, and my beers were well received, and I thought, hey, I think I could do this with my farm, and then the rest is just
And you did enter beers in fairgrounds, didn't you do well?
Spokane Interstate Fair, got a grand champion with our Bluff Top Belgian one year.
All right. Woo! That's great. And so, do you find, I know you were a high school, at Mount Spokane, you taught within the
chemistry
meets,
and biology.
Yeah. And so, did that have a large effect? Because science is a huge component to brewing. Is that affected your ability to brew the great beers that you brew?
So, as all of these much younger gentlemen down here know in craft brewing, a big part of our brewing process is having a procedure and following that procedure to a T and repeatability. So, the scientific method is a big part of what I do. If you're a good cook and you can follow a recipe in a kitchen, then you probably could be a good brewer as well.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about, so you have this Bodacious berries, and now you have Big Barn. So where did the Big Barn Brewing, how did that get its name and come about?
So the Big Barn was pretty easy. We have at our barn complex, we have an old barn on the property that was built in 1894. So that's the original homestead.
That's the old barn.
That's the old barn. There's also a kind of a carriage house that was their shop on the barn, smaller barn, still red. And then we built the Big Barn. And so we were talking about when we first started the brewery, we were going to call it Red Barn Brewing, and there was Red Barn carpets in town, and there was Red Barn everything all over the place. But oftentimes we would be corresponding with family and it'd be down working and so forth, and they'd say, where are you at? Well, I'm in the Big Barn. And so in identifying where we were at as far as working and so forth, Big Barn stuck. It wasn't anything that anybody else had, and we became Big Barn Brewing.
Right. That's
Thank
awesome.
God you weren't in the outhouse when they called you, right?
Yeah. It was a little barn.
Right. Yeah, Shitter Brewing Company. Any special beers you're currently brewing for the fall? What do you got? Anything you got on right? Because you've got a great fall events that you do. So tell us a little bit about your events and your beers.
We feel like we're pretty cool in terms of our brewing and stuff like that. But shoot, we just went to this Inland Northwest Craft Brew Festival.
Right.
And there was this other super cool brewery there that ended up having the top pours. And it just happened to be Mountain Lakes Brewing. We were only number 2.
So if you haven't heard, at the Inland Northwest Brew Craft Beer Festival that was just held, the number 1 pours for the festival was Mountain Lakes Brewing Company. However, the number 2 was Big Barn
Brewing.
And that's 40 breweries represented there. That's a big deal.
You know, Chris, we're actually changing our name to Bigger Barn.
Oh, that's right.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Anyway, we tend to be heavy laden in seasonal beers. We do all kinds of things through the summer with our strawberries and raspberries. We've got to brag it out right now. I suppose our big seasonal, like many of you guys, is we did a fresh hop. We have a Midnight Harvest, and we also have our Golden Pumpkin Ale. Are kind of our 2 big seasonals right now.
Oh, nice. Golden Pumpkin Ale.
I was there on Sunday, and my wife and I had the Golden Pumpkin, and my wife said, hey, how do you think they get the pumpkin taste? And we looked through your window, and we saw a big box of pumpkins, and we figured that's where it came from.
That's genius.
We tend, like you guys were talking about avocado beer earlier, we tend to throw whatever we grow into our beer.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's how I started brewing. There was neighbors that had an apricot tree, and we picked 50 5-gallon buckets of apricots, and I canned a bunch. I made fruit leather, and then I was like, what am I going to do with the
exactly.
other 48 5-gallon buckets? And so let's make alcohol. And then my friends liked it, and I said,
there's craft brewing.
Exactly.
There you go. Woo! Well, Craig, it has been a true pleasure talking with you. However, we have invited you here tonight to play a game we're calling Bodacious Berries meet Bodacious beers. You may have named your farm after those totally radical Ninja Turtles. However, how familiar are you with how beer and turtles are linked? We are going to ask you 3 questions related to how beer and turtles are connected over the years. Answer 2 of the 3 questions successfully, and you'll win a prize for one of our audience members, free beer and a pint glass. Dave, who's Craig playing for tonight?
Drum roll. Joel Hagen.
Joel! And there he is, right
buddy.
in front of you.
Sorry.
So, Craig, here is your first question. The Turtle Survival Alliance got crafty with a recent way to help raise awareness for the plight of turtles by doing what? A, convincing a local brewery in South Carolina to stop serving its popular turtle soup stout, which was made with locally harvested turtles. B, did somebody whoop that? What was that? Whoop! By creating the slogan, drink beer, save turtles, and collaborating with craft breweries to brew beers to raise funds and awareness for the plight of turtles. Or C, by donating old turtle shells from illegally harvested turtles that didn't make it to a local brewery so they could create an awesome-looking bar with a sweet tortoiseshell finish. Yeah. Woo! Is the answer A, turtle soup stout, B, drink beer, save turtles, or C, tortoiseshell bar?
That's a good-looking bar.
They're all so equally weighted. I'm going to have to go with final answer B.
The B, drink beer, save turtles. You are correct. That is right. 1 down for Joel. Yes. World Turtle Day is held on May 23rd, but shouldn't we be thinking about them every day? To help make that happen, the Turtle Survival Alliance teamed up with a number of craft breweries to brew beers to raise awareness and funds for turtles. Beers such as Space Turtle, the Bitter Box Turtle, Turtle Eclipse, Turtle Waste of Time, and of course, all right, Craig, here is your second question. Saltwater Brewery in Florida has found a way to make a common beer product more ocean-friendly. What is it exactly they are doing? A, after trying to find a number of options to recycle their used grains sustainably, the brewery found that when blending their grains with seaweed, the local turtles love it. So, do the customers. Every Wednesday is feeding day. It's like a koi pond feeding, but with turtles. Or is it B, if only there was an eco-friendly option for those awful ways we hold six-packs together. Well, Saltwater Brewery's Eco Rings may have just solved the problem. Their six-pack packaging is turtle edible. Totally tubular, dude. Or is it C, glass is not easily recyclable, and most of it ends up in landfills, so the brewery decided to develop a solution by crushing bottles and tumbling the broken glass. The glass is then mixed into the sand of local Florida beaches, helping limit beach erosion while also adding a little color and flair to their beaches. Is the answer A, spent grains and mixed with seaweed, B, edible six-pack rings, or C, recycled glass beaches? You can always ask your panel of brewers for assistance.
So, panel, I'm leaning towards A and B, thinking that the cost of tumbling and crushing and putting the glass into the sand would be...
Oh, so he's going to use years of knowledge and wisdom. Okay, all right, C's out.
Okay, C's out. What do you guys think? C's out, panel?
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should think about things that might hurt turtles normally, but then don't if you do it the right way.
Did you see there was like a video of a turtle that had a thing out its nose, and that's why we can't eat straw or like have straws anymore?
Right, straws suck.
Yeah, that all happened because of one video.
So it sounds as though, from my expert panel here, that we're leaning heavily towards B.
That is, yes.
Edible six rings.
That's your final answer? Yes, you are correct. We all know that plastic is an enormous problem in our oceans, and those plastic six-pack rings do nothing to help the situation. So Saltwater Brewery developed a completely biodegradable, compostable, and edible version for their six-packs. Now that's fighting plastic pollution like a real Ninja Turtle. You bet.
At home.
All right, Craig, here is your third question. Crafted Tap House and